The rain fell hard that night, soaking the broken streets and washing the city in cold shadows. People hurried past with umbrellas and warm coats, pretending not to see the girl curled beneath the flickering streetlight. Her name was Elara. She had learned long ago that names didn't matter much when you were homeless. To most people she was invisible. To others she was a problem they wished would disappear. Elara hugged her thin jacket tighter around herself as laughter echoed from across the street. A group of well-dressed men stood outside a restaurant, warm and full, their eyes drifting toward her with open mockery. "Still alive, huh?" one of them sneered. "Careful," another laughed. "She might steal your wallet." Elara lowered her head. She had learned that silence hurt less than fighting back. She hadn't always lived like this. Once she had a small home, a mother who hummed while cooking, and dreams that felt possible. Then sickness came. Then debt. Then loss. One by one, everything vanished, until the streets became her world. That night, hunger gnawed at her so badly that her hands shook. Still, when she noticed an old man struggling in the rain nearby, she stood. He had slipped on the wet pavement, his cane skidding away. People stepped around him without slowing down. Elara ran. She ignored the pain in her bare feet and knelt beside him, helping him up. "Are you hurt?" she asked softly, her voice gentle despite her exhaustion. Before the man could answer, a deep, calm voice cut through the rain. "That will be enough." Elara looked up. A tall man stood beneath the streetlight, untouched by the rain though it poured around him. He wore a long dark coat, perfectly tailored, his posture straight and commanding. His silver-gray eyes were sharp, ancient, and watching her with unsettling intensity. The laughing men fell silent. "Leave," the stranger said quietly. Something in his tone made their blood run cold. They muttered curses but retreated quickly, disappearing into the night. Elara stood slowly, unsure whether to thank him or run. "You didn't have to help him," the man said, looking at her now. "You're the one who needed help." She swallowed. He needed it more. The man studied her as if she were a mystery written in a language he had forgotten. For the first time in years, Elara felt truly seen, not judged, not pitted. "What is your name?" he asked. "Elara." A flicker of something crossed his face. Recognition. Surprise. Interest. "My name is Lucien," he said. "Come with me. You'll freeze out here." "I can't," she replied quickly. "I don't take charity." A faint smile touched his lips. "Neither do I. This is not charity. It's an invitation." Against every instinct she followed him. His car waited nearby, black, elegant, silent. As it moved through the city, Elara watched the streets change. Darkness gave way to towering iron gates, ancient stone walls, and finally, a mansion rising from the mist like something out of legend. Her breath caught. What is this place?" she whispered. Lucien stepped out and held the door open for her. "My home." As the gates closed behind them, Elara felt it, an invisible weight pressing against her chest, as if the air itself knew she didn't belong here. Inside, candlelight flickered across stone halls carved with symbols she didn't recognize. Shadows moved where none should exist. Lucien turned to her, his eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "Before you step any further," he said calmly, "you should know the truth." Elara's heart pounded. This house belongs to the Vampire King. The doors shut behind her. And Elara realized her life on the streets had only been the beginning. Elara did not sleep that night. The bed beneath her was softer than anything she had ever known, layered with dark velvet and silk that smelled faintly of cedar and night air. The room itself was enormous, high ceilings carved with ancient symbols, tall windows draped in heavy curtains, and candles that burned without melting, casting a silver-blue glow across the stone walls. Felt like a dream. Or a trap. She sat on the edge of the bed, hands clenched in her lap, listening to the silence. Not an empty silence, but a living one, as if the mansion itself were breathing. A soft knock echoed through the chamber. She flinched. "Why, yes." The door opened slowly, revealing a tall woman with pale skin and hair as white as moonlight. Her eyes were not human, golden and sharp, but her expression held no cruelty. "I am Seraphine," the woman said calmly. "Head of the household. I was asked to see if you needed anything." Elara swallowed. You're not human, are you?" Seraphine smiled faintly. "Neither is the man who brought you here. But you already knew that." Elara looked away. "Why am I here?" Seraphine studied her for a long moment. "Because the king saw something in you that most humans miss." "The king?" Elara repeated softly. "Yes. Lucien Valkyrin," Seraphine said. "Ruler of the Northern Blood Courts." The oldest vampire still walking among mortals. Fear tightened Alara's chest. Then why hasn't he harmed me? Seraphine's voice lowered. Because he doesn't harm the innocent. That answer unsettled her more than any threat could have. After Seraphine left, Alara wandered the halls, unable to stay still. Portraits lined the corridors, men and women from different centuries, their eyes following her as she passed. Every single one bowed slightly in Lucien's presence when he appeared at the far end of the hall. You should not roam alone yet, he said gently. I couldn't sleep, Alara admitted. This place, it feels alive. It is, Lucien replied. It was built on ancient ground. It remembers everything. They walked together in silence until they reached a balcony overlooking the gardens. Strange flowers bloomed under the moonlight, petals shimmering like obsidian. You could have chosen anyone, Alara finally said. Someone powerful. Someone important. Lucien rested his hands on the stone railing. Power attracts enough people. Kindness does not. She looked at him, confused. I didn't do anything special. You did, he said quietly. You helped a stranger knowing no one would help you. The words hit her harder than she expected. But I don't belong here, she whispered. I don't belong anywhere. Lucien turned to her fully then. His silver eyes softened, losing their cold edge. That is where you are wrong. A sudden shout echoed from below. A vampire guard rushed into the courtyard, kneeling before Lucien. My king. The council has learned you brought a human into the manor. The air changed instantly. Lucien's presence shifted. He grew taller somehow, darker, ancient power rolling off him like a storm. Let them speak. They demand she be removed, the guard continued. They believe she is a weakness. Alara's heart dropped. Lucien's jaw tightened. They forget who rules them. The guard hesitated. They also said, the human girl carries an aura they haven't felt in centuries. Silence fell. Lucien looked at Alara, something unreadable in his eyes. What aura? She asked shakily. Before anyone could answer, the mansion trembled, just slightly, as if reacting to her presence. Candles flickered. Shadows stretched. Lucien stepped in front of her instinctively, shielding her with his body. In that moment, Alara understood something terrifying and beautiful. She was not just a guest. She was the reason the ancient walls had awakened. And the Vampire King was already protecting her, even from his own kind. Alara realized very quickly that being protected by the Vampire King did not mean being welcomed. The whispers followed her through the halls of the mansion, soft at first, then sharper, filled with judgment. Servants paused when she passed. Lesser vampires watched her with open suspicion. Some with fear. Others with hatred. She heard the word human spoken like a curse. One evening, as she helped Lily, the quiet changeling girl, carry linens through the west corridor, a noblewoman stepped directly into her path. Her red eyes glowed faintly, her smile cold. You walk too freely for someone who bleeds, the vampire said. Alara froze. I don't mean to offend anyone. The noblewoman leaned closer, inhaling slowly. You smell like rain and hunger. It's distracting. Before Alara could step back, the air shifted. Lucien was suddenly there. His voice was calm, but the temperature dropped. Step away from her. The noblewoman bowed instantly, fear replacing arrogance. Forgive me, my king. I was merely curious. Lucien's eyes hardened. Curiosity without respect is cruelty. When the noblewoman fled, Alara whispered, I'm sorry. I keep causing trouble. Lucien turned to her, expression unreadable. You are not the problem. That same night, the Vampire Council summoned him. Alara watched from the balcony as Lucien entered the great council chamber alone, an ancient circular hall carved from black stone, lit by blood-red torches. 12 elders sat in judgment, their power heavy enough to make the walls hum. She is a liability, one elder hissed. A human in the king's home weakens us, another snarled. Remove her, a third demanded. Or we will. Lucien stood unmoving. You will do nothing without my command. An elder leaned forward. Then we invoke the trial of presence. Silence fell. Even Lucien stiffened. Alara felt it before anyone explained. This was dangerous. Seraphine's voice trembled as she whispered, if she fails, the council has the right to take her. Alara's knees weakened. The next morning she was brought before the council. No throne. No protection. Just stone beneath her feet and ancient eyes watching her like prey. Why should a human be allowed to live among us? An elder demanded. Alara's voice shook, but she spoke. Because I've lived my whole life being treated as less, she said quietly. Because I know what it's like to be judged before being known. And because I would never wish that pain on anyone, human or vampire. Mocking laughter rippled through the chamber. Pretty words, an elder sneered. But words don't prove worth. They summoned a prisoner. A young vampire boy was dragged forward, chained, trembling, his eyes wild with fear. He feeds without control, the elder announced. He will be executed. Elara gasped. He's just a child. He is a monster, the elder replied. Before Lucien could intervene, Elara stepped forward. Please, she said. Let me try. The elders laughed openly now. You would die, one said. Then let my life mean something, Elara replied. Lucien's voice thundered. Enough. But it was too late. The boy lunged. Pain exploded through Elara's arm as teeth pierced skin, but instead of terror, something ancient stirred inside her. The boy froze. His breathing slowed. The hunger in his eyes faded. A low hum filled the chamber. The chains shattered. Every elder rose in shock. Lucien stared at Elara as if seeing her for the first time. She had not screamed. She had not fought. She had calmed the blood. The ancient gift, one elder whispered. The blood soother. Elara collapsed, and Lucien caught her before she hit the ground. For the first time in centuries the council bowed. And the vampire king held a human girl who had just changed their world. Elara woke to silence. Not the calm silence of rest, but the kind that presses against the skin, heavy and wrong. The room was dim, candles burned low, their flames trembling as if disturbed by something unseen. She tried to move. Pain flared through her arm. Memory rushed back, the council chamber, the boy's fangs, the strange warmth that had surged through her blood. Lucien was seated beside her bed. He did not speak at first. His posture was rigid, his hands clenched tightly enough that the stone armrest beneath them had cracked. You should not have survived, he said quietly. Elara swallowed. I'm sorry. That made him turn. His silver eyes blazed, not with anger but something far worse. Fear. Do not apologize, he said, voice low and strained. You offered your life without hesitation. Do you understand what that did to me? She shook her head. Lucien stood abruptly, pacing. I have ruled for centuries. I have watched kingdoms burn, wars end, empires fall. I thought myself beyond fear. He stopped in front of her. And yet, when you collapsed in my arms, I realized how fragile you are. The room trembled slightly, responding to his emotion. I cannot protect you from everything, he admitted. And that terrifies me. Elara reached for his hand despite the pain. He froze but did not pull away. I wasn't afraid, she said softly. I trusted you. Something broke in his expression. That night the attack came. It began with a scream. The alarms echoed through the manor as shadows surged over the outer walls. Rogue vampires, exiles who despised Lucien's rule, had breached the wards. Elara. Lucien was at her side instantly. He wrapped her in his cloak and moved faster than thought, stone corridors blurring as chaos erupted behind them. Fire clashed with darkness. Steel rang against fangs. A blade struck from the shadows. Lucien turned too late. Elara shoved him. The blade pierced her side. Time stopped. Lucien's roar shattered the hall. The rogue was destroyed in a blink, reduced to ash in memory, but Lucien barely noticed. He caught Elara as she fell, blood soaking through his hands. No, he whispered. No. Stay with me. Her breathing faltered. I didn't want you hurt. Lucien pressed his forehead to hers, ancient composure gone. You are not replaceable. He made a decision he had sworn never to make. He bit his own wrist and pressed it to her lips. Drink, he commanded, not as a king, but as a man begging the world to spare what he loved. Power exploded through the room. The manor itself responded, walls glowing, wards reforging, enemies fleeing in terror. Elara gasped as warmth filled her veins, not hunger, not darkness, but life. When the attack ended, the council arrived to find Lucien kneeling beside her, holding her like a treasure reclaimed from death. You broke the ancient law, an elder whispered. Lucien rose slowly, eyes burning crimson. Then change it. You face them all. She is under my protection, not as a guest, not as a weapon, but as my chosen. Elara's fingers tightened in his coat. The vampire king had declared war on tradition. For her. Elara healed, but not the way anyone expected. Days passed, then weeks. The wound at her side closed without a scar, yet something within her had changed. She could feel the mansion now, not just its presence but its emotions. The stone no longer felt cold beneath her fingers. The shadows no longer recoiled from her. They listened. The council summoned Lucien again, but this time they summoned Alara as well. She entered the great chamber not as a frightened guest, but standing at the vampire king's side. Murmurs rippled through the elders. The same ones who had dismissed her now studied her with caution and awe. The ancient records have been opened, the eldest elder announced. The blood-soother gift has not appeared in over 1,000 years. Alara's hands trembled. I never asked for this. Lucien looked at her. That is why it chose you. The elder continued. The blood-soother does not belong to vampires or humans. It belongs to balance. And legend speaks of one who could calm bloodlust, heal corrupted blood, and unite the night without tyranny. Silence fell. You were never meant to be a servant here, the elder said slowly. You were meant to be a bridge. The council knelt. All of them. Lucien turned to Alara, voice low. I did not bring you here because of destiny. I brought you here because you were kind when the world was cruel. Tears filled her eyes. I don't want power. He cupped her face gently. Then you are the only one worthy of it. That night, the rogue vampires were judged, not with execution but exile and binding. The cycle of endless violence ended. For the first time in centuries, the clans listened rather than fought. Lucien addressed them all. Strength without compassion is tyranny, he said. And fear without understanding creates monsters. His gaze never left Alara. Later, in the quiet of the moonlit gardens, she finally asked the question she had carried since the rain-soaked street. Why did you really choose me? Lucien knelt before her, king of the night, lowering himself willingly. Because you reminded me what it meant to protect without ruling, he said. And because somewhere between your courage and your kindness, I fell in love. Alara touched his face, no longer afraid. I don't need a throne. Lucien smiled. Nor do I need a crown. They did not rush the bond. No forced transformation. No claim of ownership. Only trust, built slowly, day by day, choice by choice. When dawn came, the world felt different. Kinda. And far away, on the same streets where Alara once slept unseen, a young girl was offered help instead of cruelty, because stories had power, and this one had already begun to change the night. Final ending line for voiceover. Kindness is not weakness, and those the world forgets may be the ones destined to lead it.